Congress chief Mallikarjun Kharge on Monday wrote to President Draupadi Murmu reiterating concerns over the Agnipath scheme for armed services recruitment. Dr. Jaijit, there is this other side of the coin, and I'm looking at what the Mudra loan disbursements are. There has been an uptick in that, startup registration and an increased number of tax returns. This certainly presents a different picture altogether of how there are people who are choosing entrepreneurship and micro entrepreneurs being created, and the number of people who are engaged in self-employment, including unpaid, running small businesses, that has increased. Then when Mr. Kharge writes this letter, can this become a talking point in the run-up to elections?
Let's just look at the data and whatever data is available. So clearly the employment rate in India has been falling. It has fallen to 46.3% now. But if you look at the other part of the story, which is number of self-employed men in India, and it's just data about men, not even women, it is one of the highest right now at 245 million. So something strange is happening. Also, if you would see the unemployed is largely between the age of 15 to 20. Now, I'm not sure whether India, which is growing, would like to have their workforce in the age between 15 and 20 to be actually working in the field or to be getting educated. So if there's a drop in that segment of 15 to 20 years, then clearly it's good for India in the future. So the data is not that easy to be simplified and a narration to be squeezed out of it. Clearly, there are good things happening, which is what the data is showing. There is more and more people who are getting self-employed. There is also a lot of people who are between the age of 15 and 20 who seem to be getting an education. And I think further data needs to validate that. But there is a drop in the workforce between 15 and 20, which clearly shows that something interesting is happening with that age group. And hence, when we look at this letter, and it also talks about suicides happening of Agniveers and so on.
Yes.
None of those suicides actually said that they are committing a suicide because they expected something else out of the job. These were suicides because of personal reasons. There are also suicides in the larger part of the society. Some of them will be because of financial reasons, and that happens globally. Is it a large pandemic that is breaking out, or is it just a statistical number which has been pretty much constant?
Okay. Dr. Jaijit, there are points that have been made from the political class, but I think what Anupam says has to be responded to as well. Dr. Jaijit, will you respond?
Yeah, I think first of all, somebody in one of the panelists mentioned that my data was a lie. I don't know how data can be lied, and she talked about a age category of 22 to 30 in the CMIA data. There is no such age category. Let me underline that. There is an age category of 15 to 29. And that workforce had decreased from 25% in 2016-17 to 17% in 22-23. That is a fact. And I'm sure, facts should not be changed. So let's first clarify that. Second, absolutely right in terms of what Manish I'm the Teamlease person just mentioned. There is definitely a challenge of employability. That doesn't absolve anyone, because that's also a responsibility of all the government, the state government, the central government. We see, people with MComs not being able to define what is depreciation. And those are basic, ABCDs of commerce. Similarly, there are PhDs who are just, got a PhD by doing other things than actually studying. And therefore, there is a large issue of employability. And clearly what people are trying to do is try and get a better job, a more safer job, which is a government job. In terms of data for those who are trying to get self-employment, that is happening. We just saw that it's one of the highest that has happened in terms of self-employment. There are a large number of gig workers. Last time we looked at it a few years back, there were about 7 million gig workers in just driving, which is Ola, Uber, and so on and so forth. And that's a large number of people. Now, also what happens is when one goes in and does the census and asks whether you are employed, the question is not whether you are getting an income. The question is whether you're employed, and therefore if you have a job, and the answer is no. Whereas the person may actually be driving an auto rickshaw or will be having some other small businesses. Globally, small businesses are the backbone of any economy. And if we say that they should all come out of the small businesses and get a job, that is unrealistic. Also, let me clarify that the army is not a job creating machine. The job of the army is to defend ourselves, and therefore whatever needs to be done needs to be done. the whole tail to teeth ratio, increasing the teeth to tail ratio of the army is something which was important. That is, the teeth of the army needs to increase, more machinery needs to be bought for the same amount of
All
money.
right.
Same kind of changes happened in China, by the way. The size of the number of personnel in the military was cut down by half so that money can be invested into modernization of the military.